So let me show you my cardstock organization and how I do this. The first thing is, whenever I see people's cardstock stashes on other videos, again, I've talked a lot about things being overwhelming. Seeing people's cardstock stash is definitely overwhelming. So here's how I have mine stored. And remember, I primarily scrapbook here at my kitchen table or at retreats with my friends. So having a giant craft room and all the pretty cardstocks in calyx cubes along the back wall, that just doesn't work for me. I have to be able to move things around. And so for me, I use one of those old archivers tote bags. Y'all remember those? And then inside, I have one of the old 31 flip and folds. They don't, obviously 31's not around anymore. You can still find some of these flip and fold files holders on eBay, and they were just the perfect size for cardstock. I have a problem, I think, with cardstock organization in that if you get those plastic, some of the plastic containers, I want everything to stand up vertically. If it's horizontally, things are going to get buried. But some of those plastic containers, they fall over. They're not sturdy at all. And so I'm thinking, how can I get something that's sturdy, that stands on its own? And then again, because these are 12 by 12 sheets, whatever container you get has to be larger than 12 by 12, but not so large that the paper flops over. So that's why I like the flip and fold, and I put it in a tote bag just so I can carry it around. I just folded it down so you could see what's in here. And so let me show you. I have mine organized in rainbow order. And let me just say a couple things. If it is a piece of cardstock or printed paper that is themed, so Christmas, travel, birthday, I have those things in their own categories already. So anything related to a specific theme lives with its theme. The papers in here do not belong to a specific collection or theme, okay? These are just my individual, my random bits. And the card stocks that I use most frequently, I like basil. I like the texture and I like the quality of basil. I've used that for years. And then primarily black, white, the craft card stock, real pretty red, navy, just kind of some of the primary colors along with black and white. So rainbow order, and I like to start with white and black and brown in the front, and then red, yellow, green, blue, purple, and pinks back there. So, and I do have a couple of paper packs. This is another thing that I see questions about all the time is what do we do with paper packs? I don't love paper packs. I don't have a whole ton of them. This one I have kept in its entirety because I was scrapping some things that all went with this. But then honestly, I just stuck it at the back of my cardstock and haven't done much with it since. So that's a candidate for potentially rehoming. But the way I organized this is I found these plastic organizers, okay? And I just, with the label maker, my Dymo label maker is one of my favorites. And so just, put the labels on there in rainbow order. Now, if something is let me get back to after, okay, so after our last solid color of pinks, press this a little closer, then I've got things that are prints. Prints are, again, it doesn't belong to a collection that I'm using in its entirety anywhere else. It's just a print. And then I also have, I still have some basic gray, y'all. I love basic gray, so I still have a few bits that I'm wanting to use up, but I wanted to call it out specifically. Wood grain paper I use a lot. It's almost like a neutral for me, so I want to keep a good stash of wood grain. I've also got ledger paper. I love ledger paper. I use that quite a bit. Here I've got specialty paper. So that would be things like, here we've got acetate, just some acetate. I've got vellum. I've got an actual piece of burlap. I've got some sparkle glitter paper. This is kind of some like textured, almost mulberry silver paper. So anything like that is a specialty paper. And then I've also got a section for templates. And if you have like a CM cutter system, you're probably going to already have all these things. But I've got like a circle made out of cardboard so I can trace that. I've got some of these fun shapes that I can trace on paper and then cut those out manually. And so that's what I've got in my cardstock. So there's a little bit of room, not a ton, a little bit of room. Well, one of the questions that we get all the time is, what do I do with scraps? And I've seen some really elaborate scrap systems. So the first thing, I want to show you what my system is. I think you'll, anyway, it could be useful for you. Okay, so with scraps, I don't keep every microscopic scrap that comes my way. For me, it needs to be probably a minimum of 3x3, if not 4x4, maybe some longer strips. If it's just a teensy tiny piece of paper, no, I don't do it. I just recycle that. So that's for me, because again, I'm thinking about portability and how can I make sure that my stuff stays in its container. Again, any organizing followers out there or decluttering followers of Dana K. White, she's always talking about your container is your space. Everything's got to fit in here. But let's look at scraps. So what I do, if I've got this, and these are just these things, they came on Amazon in a pack, and they're not super sturdy even, but they're plastic. I can put a link in the description below, but let me show you what I've got here. So again, this goes in the front section, and then I just got these. These are 8.5 by 11. They're sticky on one side. I'm going to show you how to put these down, and they're open at the top. So these are actually called like job ticket pockets, which is kind of funny. So I've got the divider. It is on the back side of the divider. And so that way, when I'm going through and looking, I know if I just reach right to the back of this, it's there. And then that's my scrap. So again, this is a big piece of paper. It's probably a 5x7. It's already adhered. It's not going to fall out unless this whole thing tumps over. And if it does, we have bigger problems. And all my scraps are right there. I know if it's not in there, I don't have a scrap of it. So let me show you how to do, let's do the black one together. And I don't have a ton of gray paper, so I have my section, my label is set up as black and gray. All right. So what I do is I take my divider, I flip it over, and then I get one of the adhesive 8.5 by 11 job ticket folders. Okay, these have let me just peel that off. Now the back is really sticky. And then I kind of line this up here. I'm not a super perfectionist on measuring. I just want to get it lined up on the back. And then you press it down. Press it down. You can press out any air bubbles. Press down that sticky holder. Right. You see what I did now? So I've got the folder and its little sticky companion right back there. So I had been capturing my scraps in, these were 8.5 by 11 acid-free kind of cellophane, and they actually are sticky at the top. But I found I don't ever seal them, and they're kind of loose. They're not great. So I decided, let me try something else. So look, I can take this entire packet, and you can see the different sizes. I can take this entire packet of stuff. Could I further organize this? You bet. Will I? No. And then I just stick it right like that. So I've got my divider. I've got my pouch full of the scraps. And then here you go. It's going to go right in behind the whites and where the blacks and grays start. So it goes just like that. Pretty cool, right? So I'm going to go through and do that for each of the dividers. I'll probably put this on a time lapse so I don't bore you to tears, but you can see how I've done. Great. The next one would be brown. Do I have any brown scraps already? I do. Let's see what I've got going on here in the browns. Okay, got that. centered. Press it down, press it down. These I had just in a Ziploc bag and had some. This is sort of a specialty. It's like you see that corrugated. It's more of a corrugated tan.